Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, it's the most wonderful time of the year. And you made it through Thanksgiving. Welcome to Off Field. I'm Liv Moods. That's his favorite.
No, if you were going to imitate me, you'd have to say off court by accident.
This off court.
That's his favorite opening.
What's up? I'm Nate Jackson. Brandon Krisztal, Liv Moods. We switched up some seats today.
Yeah, we did.
And we're going to get into the Broncos matchup tonight. Broncos playing at home tonight, Monday Night Football against the Cleveland Browns. This is exciting. Shelby Harris returns. Jerry Jeudy returns. But a lot of other football this weekend, guys. As you were eating your turkey, as you were letting it digest, Liv, what'd you have your eyes on this weekend?
Well, unfortunately for me, I bet Giants money line against the Cowboys, and that didn't.
Not the
bode
craziest bet.
very- you know what? It was
Drew
looking
Lock was
good.
gonna-
But I guess that was going to be my question. I'm saying, like, the Cowboys have obviously certainly underperformed their roster. But
Right.
what did you like about what the Giants have done in recent weeks that you're like, hey, I think they're going to go to Dallas and win?
It was absolutely a fade the Cowboys and not tail the Giants.
Okay.
That's what it was. It was.
They were getting points, obviously. But you bet
Yeah.
them to win. You bet money line.
Yeah, I bet money line. I went all the way.
So you believed in Drew Lock?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something about Drew Lock you want him to succeed, right?
He's likable for sure.
Yeah.
So I was rooting for him, but
And Drew doesn't seem to take himself too seriously. You know, obviously we got to cover him for a couple of years. What's tricky with Drew is he's in that rare category of he was the best basketball player in the Kansas City region and the best football player. So things come easy to him. He gets to Missouri. He's not supposed to necessarily start as a freshman. He ends up starting as a freshman. And so he's just always been really good at sports. But I don't know how refined his skills are because he was always playing both sports, if that makes sense. I was kind of a
Yeah, I mean, he
criticism.
would drop back in the pocket and he'd be like, raindrops, like he was shooting a fadeaway three-pointer. You got to step into the throws, Drew. Maybe he should take himself a little more seriously.
maybe
Or be
he
a
is
little more.
competitive.
He's a sweet guy.
and
you
there
can-
are, you can see the physical tools.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Great arm, athlete. He had a 28-yard run,
Yeah.
almost scored a touchdown.
Yeah.
4 carries for 57 yards and a touchdown for Drew. 21-32, 178 yards, 1 interception, sacked 6 times, and the Giants continue to suck. Brian Daboll probably on the hot seat. What do you guys think?
And
there's a lot of coaches on the hot seat. I
Yeah.
feel like.
What's
Wow.
interesting?
Well, Matt Eberflus got fired.
Yeah, and I want to get to that game because that kind of set the tone for a weird Thanksgiving weekend of football. But as it happened in real time, and you know, if you're watching that game, and I was watching it with a bunch of my wife's family and friends up in the mountains, and we're all like, "What's going on? Call timeout."
Yeah,
This is
do
where the
something.
coach has to at 8
But
seconds.
doesn't the quarterback also have to see that?
The quarterback has to see it, and Caleb, I guess, he checked in the middle of the.
It was all bad.
It was all bad. But Eberflus, that's where any good head coach, even a defensive coach, someone on the field, I don't care, special team, someone has to be like, timeout, 8 seconds, 10 seconds. We can't let this run down because we're going to not be able to even get back to the line of scrimmage. And it was like, well, we just saw a guy get fired. And lo and behold, despite his cool haircut and beard,
Yeah.
his time is done. And now the 2 names are at the top of the list. Make a lot of sense. Ben Johnson with the Lions
Mhm.
and Cliff Kingsbury, who I give Cliff credit because a year ago he made the Bears fly to him, and the Bears are for an organization that has so much heritage and plenty of money. Now the McCaskey family is all in the Bears, so their money. It's not like they have other holdings. I mean, or other businesses. Cliff made them fly to LA to interview him. Obviously, he had just worked with Caleb as like I don't know if he was QB coach or consultant or whatever, but he was on USC staff a year ago. He turns that job down, but I think in part to not be tied into Matt Eberflus. If he's playing chess to that level and like, okay, in a year I can just.
Well, you
get
got to be careful as a hot offense coordinator of where you go and what your coach is going to be like. I mean, imagine, Cliff Kingsbury in that situation. Can the assistant coach call a timeout? Apparently you can't. So
I think anyone can.
remember somebody got like the Spags tried to do it.
Spags is,
And then he didn't get flagged for it. Apparently, not
you're
any
not allowed.
assistant
Yeah,
coach can call a timeout. Only the head coach can call a timeout. But imagine Cliff Kingsbury's head exploding if that sort of moment happened and Eberflus wasn't able to do that. But yeah, Eberflus, woke up the next morning and got fired on a holiday weekend.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, right?
And I saw where people, because you've been around coaches who have been fired. If you were around any sport long enough. And I remember when Lovie Smith got fired, and I had a friend in Chicago that knew Lovie a little bit, and he'd come into his restaurants and all this. And he's like, oh, such a good guy. I was like, Lovie will be fine. Head coaches make, even Nathaniel Hackett, right? Those guys, their contracts are still north of $4 million a year.
Yeah, but the money, you're acting as if money is the salve for your wounded ego.
I'm simply saying that
he'll be fine money-wise.
Money-wise, yes, the ego, but he will have another job. It's the assistants that are making a 150, 200, 250 max that have moved for the second or third time in the last 4 or 5 years. Those are the guys who you feel for, because almost never is a staff retained. Maybe a guy here or there, but 16 to 18 other coaches are getting fired that don't necessarily have the same financial security as a head coach. It sucks for everybody, but it sucks more for assistants,
of course,
and lower level. And
the failure sucks for everyone.
The failure sucks for everyone.
And
I feel the least sorry for the head coach, because they had the opportunity to control them.
However, those assistants will get an opportunity for the rest of the season to show that they are good coaches. And then whoever comes in next, they'll hopefully be able to interview with them. But yeah, every new coach comes in, wants his own guys to an extent, and only a few from the previous regime end up sticking around. Liv, any other games kind of tickle your fancy this weekend? I mean, did you sprinkle anything on them? Or you just
no? It was
because you were sick. You were in bed.
I was
with the sniffles.
I was not feeling good at all. No, the Giants Cowboys was the only game that I actually put money on and watched with intent. I will be completely honest. I cannot keep once I eat Thanksgiving food.
Yeah.
I can't keep my eyes open. So I really only watched. Yeah, really.
Did you eat the whole turkey, mashed potato stuff and like
ham?
Yeah,
ham also. I like ham.
Pie?
Turkey.
Did you do pie?
I did some pies.
No, my dad made a pound cake. That was fabulous.
I love that.
But I will say, fast forward a little bit from non-Thanksgiving games.
You know what they call those in Europe?
What?
Kilo cakes.
Kilo cakes? Are you being honest? I don't ever know when they're lying to me.
No, because
screw you guys. So you're
pounds
lying.
are only used in America,
and for British
Europe they use kilos.
But
it's a bad joke.
Metrics.
No, it was a great one.
It's like Pulp Fiction, which you haven't seen, but you know what they call a quarter pounder with cheese in Europe, because they don't
quarter kilo.
The metric system. No, they call it the Royale.
With cheese.
Yeah.
Oh.
But you know what they call the yard house over there?
The meter house?
The 0.933 meter house. Yeah.
Do you know what they call a Whopper?
Now they're effing with me. Now I can tell they're effing with me.
I don't know. I didn't go to Burger King.
I didn't go to Burger King.
Okay, well.
Okay, so
the other game, the Sunday
cake.
game that of course I watched with intent is
Bengals
49ers because I travel every Tuesday to go see Debo and
your other favorite co-host.
It has been
yeah. Thanks for that. Well, thanks for that.
Whatever. Half the time I tweet you guys, you don't even freaking see it.
Yeah. Well, we see everything.
I see all tweets.
Okay. Well, you know what?
She called Debo her favorite co-host.
No, I actually said I have one of the coolest co-hosts
and
out there.
And I said tied with us.
Yeah, tied.
He's tied.
So I didn't call him my favorite.
And he has way more problems than us. Although I do have plenty of problems. It's just
more money though too. More money,
more problems. Yeah, but I did watch that game with intent just because I like to be able to watch the game so that I can talk with him about it tomorrow when I fly out there. And that was obviously rough in many ways. And the 49ers season just collectively has been rough. And of course, now that I do a show with him, I kind of notice the people talking trash more on social media. And I just find it interesting. Like, yes, he had a fumble. He wasn't the only one in that game, but he also had 200 plus kick returning yards. And no one really seems to talk about that. So I guess the show with him has kind of made me realize that it's so easy to be judgmental of a team or whatever, but it just seems like the 49ers can't catch a break this season with injuries. And I actually think Nate clocked that before the season even started. You said you felt like they were a very healthy squad and some of that was going to maybe start taking a turn, and we're definitely seeing that translate. So it's been.
Can we stick on the Niners for a second?
Yeah, I'm going to ask a follow-up question just for you, because what has that been like for you to navigate? Because I know what it's like when you lose a football game in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
It is a morgue in there. It is like you're going to a funeral. Everyone's so bummed out, but you are going in after a loss and trying to get this guy to talk about,
and in his home. So I'm kind of an intruder.
So he's already feeling bummed out.
Yeah.
There's also this sense of like, in the Shanahan world, like, why are you talking to the media right now? We're not doing good. Like, why are you doing your show?
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like he's feeling any of that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And every time I've gone there, I've just seen him kind of get a little bit more quiet, a little bit more, I would just say probably frustrated. And he's admitted that on the show that he is very frustrated. But I think what a lot of people fail to understand is, if they were winning, this podcast would be like everybody's favorite thing to listen to right now if they were still a Super Bowl contending team. But at the end of the day, he signed a contract to do this show for a certain amount of episodes, win or lose. And you go into a season hoping to win, obviously, and hoping to have success. But the 49ers haven't had that. And so I try to take the approach of like, I'm the double agent. I want to be, I want him to feel comfortable with me, to open up about things. But I've also got a producer in my ear that's saying, hey, we've got to ask about this and this and this. So even the stuff that I know he doesn't want to talk about, we still have to talk about. So it's all about your approach. Like I walk in there, I leave him alone. He'll usually holler up at me and he's like, I'm here. He'll come up before he like gets dressed and ready for the show. He'll give me a hug. We say hello, whatever. So he has never once taken a loss out on me. He knows that I'm just there to do my job and I'm there to help him. I'm there to talk when he doesn't want to, and so I think that makes him feel a little better, because there's times where I walk in and we look at the rundown and he's like, I really don't want to discuss that today. And I'm like, cool, that's a boundary. We'll set it. We're good. We'll find other things to talk about. So I think he kind of views me as like I soften the blow a little bit sometimes.
That's what I was going to say is, before I do want to talk about the Niners as a team, but having done a show with Shelby Harris for a couple of years where it wasn't good here in Denver, and then his first year in Seattle, it was good, right? They go to the playoffs when they're not supposed to, because Russ is here and they've got Geno, a retread, and all that. But the one thing that an athlete's podcast can do, and I realize with like Micah Parsons or CJ Stroud are doing, but especially Micah, they're almost elevating it. Tom Brady would do his show with Larry Fitzgerald on Mondays with Jim Gray, and still does. But it was Jim Gray's show with Tom Brady along for the ride, is what it feels like. But there's a chance for them to explain how the games unfolded, what really happened, what fans saw. Oh, I saw this interaction on the bench. And so when you're losing, it's tough, but at least it gives you more time than the 8 minutes at your locker or the 8 minutes at a podium. If you do want to dissect where things went wrong in a given game or why things aren't going as smoothly. And because they've had as much success as they've had, and he's gone to 2 Super Bowls and they've been close and they almost went to a third, that's what makes it harder. It's like, when Shelby was doing his show here, they haven't had that. Didn't have any sustained success in his time here.
Right.
And so he was just explaining, hey, this is why it went wrong this week versus, oh, we are not going back to the Super Bowl this year, let alone the playoffs at this point.
Well, last week was a perfect example, because the first question I asked him at the start of the show was, you chose not to speak with the media last week. Is there anything you want to say now? And he's like, actually, I don't know where that narrative came from. I was dressed. I was standing by my locker. I was ready for a microphone to be in front of my mouth, and they never came to talk to me. So I left.
Okay.
Well, so, it's just stuff like that. It does give him a chance to like either explain stuff that's misinterpreted,
or
if
you're talking to Trent Williams at the same time and you're talking to Christian McCaffrey and Brock Purdy's going in the main podium.
Right. He's like, I was dressed out. I was ready and no one spoke to me. So I left.
There's nothing that happens faster in pro sports other than the way just hockey players come in and out of their changing room. And that's its own weird thing. But being in an NBA locker room post game plenty, as well as being in an NFL locker room post game, it happens fast, because guys, whether they're on the road, if they're on the road, they want to get on the bus or see whatever friends or family might be there for a minute. And if they're home, they have a bunch of friends and family and they just want to get to them. And especially after a loss, they want to get out of there. But I'll use the Broncos DBs as the best example, because they're all kind of right inside the door when you walk into the locker room, and it's a couple safeties, and Pat Surtain's at the end, and he's going to take a while. Riley Moss is in between him. And so one of those guys may be going, if not 2 of them, and the groups of cameras and reporters are there. So let's say PJ Locke and Pat Surtain are both going. Riley Moss might turn around, give it about 30 seconds, talk to PR, I'm like, no, I guess you're good.
Yeah, there's 53 dudes on the team, 45 suiting up, only so many media members, and they can only go to certain people at a time. And so, yeah, you're going to miss some people.
Let me ask you 2 Niners questions, though, because this came up on Twitter, and I was like, this seems like the craziest thing. There are people, and you know how it is. I mean, there's still people in Pittsburgh right now that think Mike Tomlin should be fired or shouldn't still be there. There are people in San Fran calling for Kyle's job, saying, oh, maybe this is as far as it's ever going to go.
Oh, yeah. This has not been new. This is not new for Kyle. I mean, ever since he got there, the lulls elicit these sort of responses from people. Look, Mike Shanahan's philosophy as a coach, when we went to the AFC Championship game and lost, was that we were almost there, but this guy held us back. So Kyle Shanahan has had some moments last year in the Super Bowl was one of them, where someone who thinks that could have those thoughts. But in my opinion, you learn from those moments.
Yeah.
And you become a better coach. And so I think Kyle's best years are ahead of him. But I do understand the idea.
Maybe they needed this. Just like a refresh.
But you are going to miss out. I mean, you're never going to have this team like this together again. You're going to lose some guys. You know, having like Nick Bosa, George Kittle, IU, and then you got to pay Brock Purdy.
Yeah. Well, and that was
then Trent Williams question. And all these guys. Like,
is Brock Purdy is in line for between 45 and 60 million. I think at 45, as crazy as that sounds, that's on the low end of the market. But no Brandon Ayuk, Christian Sum. I'm glad I held on to Jordan Mason on the 2 fantasy teams that I have him. I didn't cut him. Although the other kid,
I paid $70 out of $200 for Christian McCaffrey.
That is a lost year unless you've been managing.
We were first place.
That's awesome.
But now
what's the kid's name? What's his name?
Isaac Guerendo.
Guerendo.
Yeah,
Guerendo's cutting into some of Jordan Mason's potential production. But either way, when things aren't going as smoothly, Brock Purdy's looked fine, but he hasn't elevated his team. And I don't know if anybody ever thought that that's who he was, but even like Dak Prescott is getting paid like a guy that can't elevate his team. And he's maybe the king of when things are going smoothly. It looks good, but in tough games against good teams. And so they've got 5 games left. And you look at Kyle. Kyle started 6-10. They got Jimmy G, and I think won a bunch of games at the end of that year. The next year, Jimmy G blows his knee out in KC. They go 4-12. But then they go 13-3. Jimmy G plays well enough. Their defense is great. They go to the Super Bowl. Then they take a step back and go 6-10. And then 10 wins, 13 wins, 12 wins in another Super Bowl. And now this year is going to be at most 10 wins, which would maybe sneak them in the playoffs, but more realistically, to think that this team is going to
have an
5
easy
wins.
schedule ahead of them.
Yeah,
Do they not?
And they're undermanned and or banged up as they're playing. Like Kittle's playing through stuff, guys are playing through stuff.
Yeah.
If Kyle Shanahan were to hit the market, and I think Jed York and Kyle Shanahan have a really good relationship, and I don't think Kyle helped hire John Lynch. They could keep John, but John isn't the type of person that's going to go to Jed and be like, yeah, maybe we need to move on from Kyle. John is loyal to Kyle, and they work together as a team really well. But if Jed York decides, hey, we need to go in a different direction, even though both these guys have like 4 or 5 years left on their new deals, Kyle Shanahan will jump to the very top of the list ahead of Bill Belichick as the number 1 coach on the market. If that happens, if the Niners are dumb enough to fire Kyle, he will have his pick of the litter. So if I'm the Bears, and Kyle's actually from Chicago, or the Shanahan family is from Chicago, I guess is a better way to say it.
He's actually, Kyle was born in Minnesota.
Yeah. Okay. So Kyle was born in Minnesota for years. Dad was in Minnesota. Yeah. But their family, their extended family is in Chicago.
In there.
No, Mike's from Illinois.
And he played against Illinois. And like that's where their family reunions are. And anyway. So if I'm the Bears, I'm talking to Ben Johnson, I'm talking to Cliff Kingsbury, but I'm not hiring. I mean, I guess you could go through the process and hire somebody ahead of time if you wanted. I'm not hiring anybody until I see what the Niners are doing. If they lose more and that noise gets louder out of San Fran. Yeah. I mean, do you think that they'd be dumb enough to actually fire him?
No, I don't. But it is a drumbeat happening right now, and I think ever since the Super Bowl last year when they lost at the end there and outplayed the Chiefs the entire game and take the ball first in overtime, that spelled the end for that team. Ever since then, there's been a sour taste in everyone's mouth, and you wanted them to come out and put that behind them, and they haven't been able to. And ever since, I mean, even this off, Ricky Pearsall gets shot in the chest in San Francisco.
Right, your number 1 pick.
Yeah, doing a charity thing, and just one thing out. Brandon Ayuk holds out the entire camp, comes back, breaks his leg or whatever he did that was brutal. Christian McCaffrey can't go to camp, gets rushed back, as someone out there Crumble Cookies pointing out. They probably rushed him back onto the field. He wanted to be out there so bad. He had Achilles tendonitis in both Achilles. You don't realize the destabilization when you're focusing on, what it does to your body when you're rehabbing specific injuries. Then you get out there and something else happens. It's because you've neglected that. It's impossible to rehab everything at the same time and prevent that kind of chain of reaction thing that happens out there when you're reacting and guys are flying around that fast. But everything that could go wrong for the Niners has, and so it's easy to point the finger back at Kyle. I would say this, though. They're 5-7, Seattle's 7-5, and Seattle is in first place. They're not out of it.
No,
they're not out of it. And the Niners have the talent. They can beat any of these teams.
Yeah,
but they
did.
They haven't pushed.
Been there.
Yeah, but they've been pushed around the last couple of weeks. Yesterday, 35-10 in Buffalo. Buffalo rushed for 220 yards on them, and the previous week they got pushed around by the Green Bay Packers in Green Bay. Now Brock Purdy was hurt. They've had some injuries, but they're going to have to get it fixed pretty quickly here. And if they lose, if they end up like 6-11 or something, that will be a chatter this offseason, and then it'll be sort of a make or break year going into 2025.
That makes more sense.
Yeah.
If you follow up 6-11, and they're going to have to pay Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
Well, I guess because he's in year 3, so you don't have to pay him now. You can make him a lame duck quarterback, if you will, or make him go into that year, because you can still franchise him. There's a lot they can do with Brock Purdy. I would not be in a hurry right now to pay Brock Purdy $60 million a year or whatever, give him a 5-year, whatever Tua's deal was, Jordan Love's kind of deal, which those are closer to 60. But they're going to see the Bears at home, and we know the Bears are going to be dealing with Thomas Brown, who apparently is also a real candidate for that job.
Thomas who?
Thomas Brown is their offensive coordinator.
Thomas?
Their new offensive coordinator. He was their passing game coordinator. They got named offensive coordinator. He was a play caller for Carolina with Matt Rule, I believe. And then he's been with Sean McVay, who actually played against in high school. Thomas Brown played in the league for a year as a running back and played running back at Georgia, but wanted to get into coaching. He got into coaching after a year bouncing around the league. So, and he's African-American, so they're going to give him a fair look. We know that Ben Johnson and Cliff Kingsbury are there. But so you get the Bears, the Rams, both at home in San Fran. Then you go to the Dolphins, long trip.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know what the Dolphins will be playing for at that point. Are they still in the playoff mix? We know the backside of that 6-7 spot in the AFC, certainly 7, could be up for grabs. And then the Lions at home, they're going to be playing for a home field advantage, although they may have it locked up by then. That doesn't mean they're going to sit guys with 2 games left. And then at the Cardinals, that could be for the division.
Yeah.
But
likely not.
Likely not.
Likely not. So
other games, though, real quick, because I know we're going to get to our Broncos breakdown.
Yeah. No, we could talk about all the other games. I mean, we're going to get the Broncos breakdown.
Did you watch the Steelers Bengals? I watched a good chunk of that yesterday, and the Bengals yet again score 38 and find another way to or just can't hold on
because they're going up against Russell freaking Wilson,
who had 414
4
yards,
touchdowns for Russell, over 400 yards.
5 if you count the pick 6.
Which you don't. But thoughts on just Russell's success he's having, Liv? Does that reflect poorly on our boy Sean Payton here?
I don't know if it reflects poorly because you're watching Sean start to gel and vibe with Bo Nix, and we're starting to see that come to life. But I just think it's more of a reflection of how important chemistry is between a coach and a quarterback. And if you don't have that, even if the skill is still there,
Brandon,
if the skill is still there, if you don't have that chemistry, and more not just chemistry, but you have to have a certain level of trust. And I just don't think Sean Payton ever trusted Russell Wilson, and vice versa, for good reasons on both sides. But I think, one, it shows just how phenomenal Mike Tomlin is. I am a huge Mike Tomlin fan. I just love his game, and I love what he's been able to do with really below average rosters, honestly, and he's done a really great job. So I'm happy for Russ. I really am. I don't think that Russ was washed in his 2 years here. I just don't think that the chemistry between him and Sean Payton was there, and therefore he wasn't able to tap into his whatever's left of his potential. And now we're seeing him under another coach that maybe understands him better, and there's more trust there. He's cooking. So
it's a very mature way of looking at it, Liv.
I'm trying.
It's for the best for everyone involved.
Of course.
I wonder this though, BK, because you're a smart kind of cap guy and numbers guy. I know, Broncos are paying a good deal of his salary this year and a good deal of it next year, 30-something million. What if he were to sign a new contract with the Steelers? Would that null and void the rest of the money that the Broncos had to give him?
I need to double check that, because they've basically written him a check, but because it's set over multiple years, like they're not sending him more checks.
Right.
And actually I could probably find that out in just a sec. But I think that because the contract basically ends this year. So I know it's trickier for like coaches if coaches have multiple years, but I think it's just based on the money. So I think the remaining dollars, like everybody said, they paid him $90 million to leave. They didn't. They paid him $39 million to leave, or whatever because they paid him the bulk of the money already. They guaranteed over the first 2 years of that deal with the signing bonus and then the first year salary. So regardless, it's going to be fascinating to see what the Steelers offer him. But if you're the Steelers, you got to offer him at least a 2-year deal for about 30 plus, if not closer.
If he's playing like
40,
this.
40, and look, they're going to go to the playoffs. They might win the division. And this is what I'm doing, because I already had plans to go to a family, to a bat mitzvah in DC. So I'm like, okay, who can the Broncos play week 1? Because that's when it is. It's that Saturday of the opening round of the playoffs.
Could be the Steelers.
Which there's no way that's not the Monday night game. Remember, with the Super Wild Card weekend now, you get 2 Saturday, 3 Sunday, 1 Monday.
Wow.
if they're playing at the Texans, no matter who the Texans are playing, just about, that feels like the Saturday afternoon game, like it was a year ago when they played the Browns.
Yep.
And the Saturday night game will be a sexier matchup. They could be at the Ravens, which would be very convenient for me geographically. At the Bills may leapfrog the Chiefs because they have that tiebreaker. The Chiefs have to win out, or the Bills will then jump ahead of them. Bills have to win out too. But those are your 4 teams. You could go to Houston, probably unlikely. Go to Pittsburgh or Baltimore, Buffalo or Kansas City. And I think even Buffalo or Kansas City feel like a Sunday game too. But at the Steelers, if you have Broncos Steelers, if the Steelers win that division, but finish second or third and are playing the Broncos either way in that first round,
relative to narratives,
that
that would be an exciting game.
But with the way Russ is playing, if I'm the Steelers, I mean, they're getting exactly what they need from him, except for on running downs, and they bring in Justin Fields to run the ball 1 yard. And it's like, how did you not know he was running the ball, Cincinnati? It's a credit to Russ, it's a credit to Arthur Smith, because he's not necessarily running exactly his offense the way he wants. But unlike Sean Payton, Arthur Smith isn't so set in what his offense needs to look like that it must be this. And if it's not going to be this, then it's not going to work.
Well, we'll have our eyes on the Steelers and all these playoff implications with the Broncos. They are 7-5 right now. All they have to do is keep taking care of business and winning. BK mentioned the Dolphins losing. They were basically an eighth seed, one behind the Broncos. Now they're 5-8. Broncos could kind of widen that margin there, even though the Colts won yesterday, but setting up a really important game 2 weeks from now against the Colts here at Adam Power after the Broncos had their bye. Remember, the Broncos play tonight and then they get a bye, which they much need. 13 weeks before they get their bye. That's kind of crazy. So before we get into this Broncos-Browns matchup, any other games, guys? Did you guys check the Chiefs and the Raiders out on Friday?
I actually did not watch that at all.
Did you see the Chiefs getting another beneficial call by the refs at the end to get them to win?
It looked like the clarification was the illegal shift negated the false start because they were never in a legal formation. And so the false start can't be a dead ball foul because the illegal shift happened first. And so they were never set to false start. And that was ultimately.
So you think it was a legit call?
That was the explanation from the refs. They seem to always have a good answer when things don't go. Every now and then, like, we blew a call. It happens like.
Do you think there's like a crack staff in New York, like huddled around every moment, trying to figure out how to ways to manipulate it to get the Chiefs to win? Like they're pulling up different rules, like in real time, while the refs are huddling up.
I definitely do not, but it's easy as a conspiracy theorist.
They want Taylor Swift in that suite.
I get it.
They need her.
They want her there.
What do you think about Taylor's involvement in the NFL? Liv, do you think it's good for the NFL? Do you think it's getting annoying? Do you think there's any way? Because you're a Taylor Swift fan, right?
I mean, I'm definitely not like a Swiftie. Like, I'm not like die hard.
Like, what makes you
Swifties are like OD. Like, they're like on another planet with their like love,
the bracelets and whatnot.
Yeah, and I don't have anything wrong. I know some Swifties, so
do you
like
have
I'm
any bracelets?
No, that's not true. When I went to when I went to the concert in Chicago, you exchange bracelets with people. So I think somebody gave me a couple, but I didn't go there with bracelets to like
you're one of
exchange
those.
with people. The other people were like, you want one of my bracelets? I was like, yeah, sure.
And was it like when someone gives it to you, is it like ceremonial? Like, do you hug? And is it like this moment that lasts forever?
I don't really hug people very often.
You hug Debo before every show. You told us already.
Yeah, well, okay, people like that, but some random girl that's like foaming at the mouth because Taylor Swift's about to be on stage and she gave me a bracelet.
I think the key there is to try to get as many bracelets as you can if you don't bring them. So you have like 4 or 5, and then you feel like you can start trading them, and then you're even. So you got to find someone that has so many.
But I also don't understand people that go to the same concert more than once.
Huh.
Like, I know one of my good friends has gone to like 5 different cities to watch Taylor Swift's same show. And
and that's the same show. And you know that
nothing's changing.
The same show versus
she does do special songs at the very end of her concert that she does acoustically, and you never know what she's going to play from any of her millions of songs. So that part, I guess, is a little bit more intimate and special and like whatever. But I do think she's good for the NFL because, in my opinion, like the NFL is one of those leagues where it's like the more the merrier. Like the people that are so upset that she's involved, it's kind of weird to me. Like, we all love football. Do I think that I think they tapped into it a little too much, especially last season? Yeah, but do I think any team would? Also, yeah.
Not only any team, any league would. If she started dating someone in the NBA or someone to her level was dating someone in the NBA or the NHL or Major League Baseball, I think all the Major League Baseball doesn't know how to.
Yeah.
Of course, you tap into it, but does there become a point where you lean towards officiating the game in a way that'll keep her around longer. Like everyone, so she's made the league a lot more money, right? So everyone's made more money because of her.
Mhm.
So if you get pulled over by the cop and the cop tells you to roll down your window, and then they see that, oh, you're the big donor to the police department. You're responsible for these new vests that we got, and you invited me to your Christmas party. Get out of here. Don't worry about it.
Apex Marketing claims that she has generated $330 million for the Chiefs and the league.
Right.
I mean, that
goes in someone's pocket.
I think that dollar amount has to be more significant for the Chiefs because people are buying Chiefs gear. They're not buying the NFL jacket. Or you're not like, you know what? Now that Taylor's watching Chiefs games, I'm going to pay more attention to the Saints. Let me go buy a new Saints jersey. I'm saying if I live in that town and I love Taylor Swift, I think it's been really good for Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce, who's going to be in the building tonight doing pregame for Monday Night Football. They've got a $100 million podcast deal. I'm sure Travis is a top 5 selling jersey without even looking. The league is happy to have her, and I think it's good, but I don't think those are direct dollars, like quantifiable dollars for the league that's so significant other than you see it's raising the Chiefs market value. But they still want taxpayer dollars to pay for their team, their new stadium.
Oh, do they?
The $20 billion that the Hunt Family Trust has, even if Clark's only worth 2.
Not enough.
Not enough. They want, and that's why the Chiefs are probably going to be playing in the state of Kansas soon.
Is that right?
That is right. I did get some clarification from someone in the know. There's no offset language on Russ's deal next year. So he will sign a new deal. Basically, the deal ended this year. Like, it nullifies the last few years. The money that's owed is paid. Had he signed a $20 million deal, whatever that check was, let's call it $39 million, the Broncos would have only had to write a $19 million check or however that would have worked. So next year he can sign whatever he wants. The Broncos still have dead money, but that's based on the previous contract.
Got it. I want some dead money. That'd be cool. Throw me some dead money.
Me
I'll
too.
take it. Okay, so the Chiefs improved to 11-1. Chargers won. They improved to 8-4. Broncos have a chance to keep pace at least with the Chargers and move to 8-5 here with a win tonight. Before we get into this matchup, I want to talk also about a scary incident with Jags quarterback Trevor Lawrence. Tried to slide, gets smashed by a linebacker. His head bounces off the turf. Fencing response, concussion, brain injury. That's what happens, guys, when you smash your head on the turf there. It doesn't matter that you're wearing a helmet. A helmet does not protect your brain from an injury. What it does is prevent your skull from cracking, and that creates the illusion that your brain is safe in there. It's not. When the rapid deceleration of your skull against either the turf or another helmet is what causes your brain to rattle around inside the skull and gives you a brain injury and gives you a concussion. I want to throw this at you guys.
Mm-hmm.
They need to take away the slide
100%.
because it's making the game more dangerous.
Both slides are the drop slide because a head
quarterback
slide.
No, not head first. Not head first. The baseball slide.
Baseball slide. Got it.
For a couple of reasons. One, that one, because defensive players can't slow down.
Okay,
and when you get hit like that, your head is going to bounce off the turf. You're more vulnerable in that position than others. And also, quarterbacks are starting to manipulate that and take advantage of it and pretend like they're going to slide and run away down the field like Patrick Mahomes does us. He pretends like he's going to slide. He keeps running, or he pretends like he's going to run out of bounds and he keeps running because guys are afraid to hit him. Take away the slide and make these guys actual football players if they decide to take off.
Yeah, I agree. And honestly, like I hated everything about that hit. I hated it. I hated watching Trevor Lawrence in the fencing position. It looked like it was a very, very brutal hit, but I sat there feeling like, and I'm probably going to get some strong disagreements on what I'm about to say, but I struggled to consider it dirty only because to me, it looked the dirtiest when it was slowed down. But when I watched it in real time and momentum was involved and speed was involved, people were like, he was clearly beginning to slide. I'm like, yeah, clearly when we slowed it down times two, like,
right.
Yeah, it looks very bad when you slow it down, but in real time, I'm not sure I would have been able to, I mean, obviously, let me not pretend like I'm
definitely would not have been able to stop, Liv.
I would not have been able to stop my momentum from moving that direction. So it's like, yes, obviously where he hit Trevor Lawrence was nasty. And every time they replay it in slow-mo, I'm like, oh, it just made my stomach turn. And I did not like the way that he left the game. Once he was ejected, he's chirping fans. It's like at that point, just tuck your tail and leave because it was a bad hit, whether you meant to or not. We don't know your intentions. We can only go off of the apology that he recently posted and say that, you know, he knows his heart and his character and he just goes out there and his job is to hit people hard. That
Yeah.
is the game of football, and that is what his job is. But I struggle to call it dirty just because it only looked truly dirty when it was slowed down and I watched it 5-6 times. But when it was quick, it was a hard hit. Don't get me wrong. And I didn't like it. But how do you really stop the momentum that's moving that fast and in that direction already? And to your point, yeah, get rid of the slide because it's dangerous and it's hurting a lot of quarterbacks.
I couldn't agree with you more about the bang bang nature of the way defensive players, even in the modern era where they're aware of it, still the truly aggressive players. And we saw it firsthand with Kareem Jackson, but the way they go after players. And one of the hits that got Kareem suspended happened against tight end from the Packers last year, Musgrave.
Yeah.
He had another one against Commanders, right?
He had a bunch.
Yeah.
Right.
He was a habitual offender.
But with the Musgrave one is the best example. Musgrave's 6'6". Kareem's going essentially at his waist. And if you watch where he's running from and he goes low, Musgrave catches, and like any receiver, and Nate, you've done this your whole career, but if you don't have the body control, and I want to say, but like you're not in position to turn and run up field, you're going to catch and get to the ground, get down, move the sticks and keep going. So Musgrave, despite being 6'6", is catching the ball's kind of low. He's going down to the ground. And by the time he's on his butt, Kareem's even with his head. Whereas when Kareem was going to tackle him, he was at his hips or his quads. And so I think you are right about the way quarterbacks slide. And that's where you give the Mahomes and the fake slides one thing, but you'll continue to look at Mahomes, Kyler Murray, and Russell Wilson as the gold standard in sliding because they are real baseball players.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you grew up sliding into second your whole life like that, your anticipation is maybe a little bit better, although you do see guys sometimes slide early and like miss their mark because you're down from wherever you start your slide, not where you end, like a slip and slide. But to your point too about could you stop yourself? Next time you're around a bunch of something soft, couches, foam pit, slip and slide, run full speed. Give yourself a launch point and then imagine someone being higher. Stop or change direction.
Stop right where you are.
Right. And just stop and turn. And it's physically impossible. So I think they'll look at it. I don't think they'll take the slide away. I think they might make it. I mean, getting a guy kicked out is pretty punitive. So I don't know how they, beyond taking it out, I don't know how they can regulate this from happening with the frequency it happens because smart quarterbacks are going to slide like this, and aggressive defensive players are going to run to the ball carrier. It's happened to Azeez Al-Shaair twice. But they're both on running backs. It was Tony Pollard, and I can't remember the other back that he hit. And so he's been fined $12,000 a couple times. His apology, was critical of fans. He was very apologetic. Waited a day to send it. I don't have a problem with the hit. I don't think he was trying to knock Trevor Lawrence out of the game. I think he was trying to hit him really hard. And he was going towards his legs. Trevor Lawrence is a big dude. It could have ended Trevor's season with an ACL shot or something.
That's the thing. As a player, I'd rather you hit me in the head than hit me in the knee. Because I can't run if you get my knee. I can run if my head hurts. I might take might take a week off and I'll be back. But players don't want to get hit and hit low. Football, unlike other sports, is a game of inches. It can be even less than an inch that separates winning and losing. A first down, 4th and 1. You got to sell out and turn yourself into the most effective weapon you can. Mm-hmm. And the way you do that is not by running like this. It's running like this and hitting them as hard as you can with your momentum going this way. And when you're like this, your head is the tip of the spear and you're just going to hit people with your head. And if they're, like BK was just saying, their level changes at the last minute, they're falling or they try to juke you or they fall, then you're going to hit them in places that you didn't intend to when you're just trying to stop their momentum, because that's what you get paid to do. If I stop you in your tracks and you go backwards, I get paid. I feed my family. I'm celebrated. I'm a hero. His whole life, that's what it's been. And now in these moments like that, we, like you said, we slow it down for slow motion. And if you watch it 10 times in slow motion, it looks bad, but bang, bang, it's really hard to stop that way.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to the game at hand. Mm-hmm. The Monday Night Football matchup between the Denver Broncos and the Cleveland Browns. The Broncos 7-5 right now. The Browns 3-8 with a new quarterback, Jameis Winston, coming in to town. On the call will be Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, and Lisa Salters.
Woo-hoo.
Woo. What do you guys think of this matchup, Liv? Let's start with you.
I'm very excited. I mean,
Are you worried about this for the Broncos? I've heard some folks saying this is like
the Browns are a sneaky one.
sneaky.
They're a sneaky team, and I think at any given moment, Jameis Winston can prove just how great of an athlete he is, and we know that this Browns defense even can get some really big stops that are pretty big momentum shifters. And to be quite honest with you, we've seen close games against worse teams so far this season with this Broncos team. So I am not counting out this Browns team by any means. It's also been a while since we've watched this Broncos team play, and it'll be interesting. I don't know if they'll have the same unfortunate situation as the Nuggets, where when the Nuggets have time off, they just fall apart.
Can I mention
it's
something
an extra day though?
Can I mention something with the Nuggets?
Yeah, but
just your thoughts.
Yeah.
Jamal Murray played 38 minutes yesterday and didn't have a single rebound. Not one.
Oh, don't even get.
How is that possible?
Tune into Off Court coming up here as soon as this show ends.
And we might just have Nate join us because it sounds like he's got some questions.
That's just bananas to me.
Oh, it's a banana, especially when you're a max contract player.
Exactly.
It's super banana.
Like you don't run and catch the ball
No,
one
there's
time.
no effort. No
You're just
hustle.
waiting for everybody else to do it.
Yeah.
Wow. So
But this is one of those games where I could see, the Broncos are sitting at a comfortable favorite right now. What, like 5.5 points? Almost 6 points. The Broncos are the favorite. Bo Nix has been on fire. The Broncos have had some really great performances. They're in playoff conversations. This to me could be an unfortunate letdown game if the Broncos enter this game feeling comfortable in any capacity. The Browns have just always been a team that even when they're having a bad season, they win big games. They just do. And so I think that at any given moment, this game could turn in favor of the Browns. And so the Broncos just need to be kind of on their P's and Q's and prepared. This Browns team knows how to play in colder weather. It'll be a little chilly tonight. They know what they're doing there. Shelby Harris coming back, Jerry Jeudy coming back. There's a lot of different storylines within this game. But I do think, like I said, Jameis Winston at any given moment can prove the kind of athlete that he is. So this is not one that I'm not going into this game feeling like, woo, we've got it is a very winnable game when you're looking at the remainder of their schedule, but in no way am I comfortable. I'm confident in what I know they can bring, but I do think the Browns are just one of those sneaky teams you just can't ever underestimate or take your foot off the gas.
Yeah, the return of Jerry Jeudy.
Woo!
Jerry Jeudy revenge game.
That's right.
Because you can't call it Shelby Harris revenge game. He's already played them twice in the last. He's played them each of the last 2 years since being traded.
Yeah,
and I don't think he has any animosity really towards the Broncos at this point compared to Jerry. And I don't know if there's a lot of animus. I think it's just that he's frustrated that as a first-round pick, he never lived up to the billing. And part of that's on him, and part of it I think is on circumstance.
It's his fault. Do you think he takes blame for that? Do you think he takes some ownership?
Last week he even said that because
what did he say?
He said something effective. Look, I want to go there and kick their ass. He goes, it never really worked out, but that's not all on them. It's like, especially my rookie year, I definitely had some drops. I think he had drops beyond his rookie year.
Oh yeah, he did. I think he had them the last year he was with us.
Absolutely. But there were
wasn't
times,
just the drops with Jerry either.
There were times where Drew Lock wasn't finding him. There were times where Teddy Bridgewater wasn't finding him. Certainly times where Russell Wilson wasn't finding him. And so I can understand his frustration as well. They paid him a nice chunk of cash. They paid him $50 million over 3 years because they like his talent. And you've seen him make some plays. And you talk about their talent. Jameis was the number 1 pick in the draft. He's thrown 40 touchdowns in a season. He's won a lot of games. He's thrown 40 interceptions in a season.
Did he throw? He was 40 for 40, huh?
He was 40-40, the first to ever do that.
40
picks. I think that was his last year in Tampa, if I'm not mistaken. I need to double check that. But Jameis has plenty of talent. Jerry Jeudy, we'll see what the rest of their wideout situation looks like. Is Tillman hurt or not?
Njoku
is as talented a physical.
Yeah,
he's great.
Physically gifted tight end.
He's got a weird style. He looks like he's always auditioning for
like a
Magic Mike situation
for sure. He's wearing a vest and no shirt,
chaps and stuff. Like, what are you doing?
Well, if he's in Broncos country, he's for sure got his Chiefs.
He's on a different level. They call him Chief. He's just out there. And so between that and then the two backs with Chubb getting healthier, doesn't look exactly like the Chubb of old, coming off a devastating knee injury, and Jerome Ford, and then flip it to the other side of the ball. Myles Garrett didn't do a damn thing last year against the Broncos when they were here. But Myles Garrett can single-handedly wreck any game that he is participating in. He's the best defensive player.
He's got 10 sacks.
The Browns have a lot of talent. I mean, they do.
Let me ask you real quick, just a quick side question. If you could have either of them on your team right now, if you're the Broncos and you can make a trade right now, Myles Garrett or TJ Watt, they want Nick Benito and Jonathan Cooper. That's your trade. So you're trading the two of them for one. but it's either TJ Watt and Myles Garrett are both available. Who are you trading for? Because I think they're about the same.
I'd
age.
probably go TJ Watt.
I would too.
Just because of his versatility and his experience of being on a good team.
Yeah.
I mean, Myles Garrett, no matter how good he is and talented, they haven't won.
Myles is 2 years younger than TJ.
How old are they?
TJ turned, I guess he's a year and a half younger. TJ turned 30 in October.
30's tough, man.
He has the same birthday as my little girl. Myles will turn 29 at the end of the month.
Both of those guys, not spring chickens.
So
I wouldn't trade our boys for either.
Well, and you look at Benito and Cooper, who got to be what?
Benito's got 10 sacks as well.
Yeah, and he's showing
for the first time for a Bronco player since 2018. You got a double-digit sacker, Nick Benito,
and he's right there at the top of the league.
Yeah, with 5 games left, so he could end up with 15 sacks, which would be, I don't know. I think Vaughn's best year he had 18 or something like that.
What's the all-time
with the Broncos? But Nick Benito playing at a very, very high level, and this Broncos team is leading the league in sacks. So to me, tonight, what they got to do is get out to an early lead.
Yep.
Stuff the running game.
Yeah.
Make Nick Chubb, what's his face, and 4 just non-factors. Turn him into a one-dimensional offense and then attack Jameis Winston and put him on his ass.
Pin your ears back.
Pin him back and attack, Liv. You're going to be there. You're going to be in the house. We're all going to be in the house.
Yeah.
For your conversation starter, maybe tonight, Nick Benito at 10 sacks is just shy 11. A bunch of guys, so it's the same guys on the list, up and down the list. Von Miller's all over the list. There you go. Nick Benito at 10 is now behind Reggie Hayward. But Von he had 10, 11 and a half. 13, 14 and a half, and 18 and a half. So 18 and a half is your single season mark. It was Elvis Dumerville's before that at 17. Simon Fletcher at 16, but Simon Fletcher's on this list a bunch, as you'd imagine. Our pal Big Al's on there, Trevor Price. They both had 13 one year. Rulon Jones there a bunch. But Nick Benito is cementing his single season legacy, because even if you go on the low side, he's not going to end with 10, assuming he plays the next 5 games.
Right.
So you'd say 12 or 13, he's going to be kind of in that top 50,
is Zach Allen back? Is he healthy?
I think so. That last check. Let me triple check.
Yeah, the man in the middle, Zach Allen, was not there last week. Broncos found a way to win.
He was hurting.
He had a heel. Yeah, an injured heel, which does suck. Okay, I want to ask you guys about Bo Nix and what you want to see out of him tonight. Bo last week was
Zach's full, so we are good.
Bo was the talk of the town, right? One rookie of the week or whatever. And there's this weird roller coaster of accolades and praise and also blame that happens in the NFL. Every week, you're like the king of the week, or you're like the scapegoat of the week. Matt Eberflus, right? The story of a loser of the week. He's gone. But then there's the guys who win the week and are incredible, like Russell Wilson wins the week. Bo Nix won last week. How do you feel about Bo's ability to ride this roller coaster of praise and blame? If, for example, he had a regression week, maybe he has a bad week, how do you keep him even keel?
Well, I think the beauty of it in comparison to like a rookie quarterback like Jaden Daniels is we saw Jaden get hot quickly, fast, and then consistently. Like it was like he never really had those like super down moments. But I think Bo Nix's transition into the NFL had a little bit more longevity to me, because we saw him in the beginning have great games, mediocre games, bad games. And so I think it already prepared Broncos country for, hey, this isn't a perfect quarterback and he's not going to be the entire reason for our success. There were some games where our defense had to win games for us. There were some games where our ground game won games for us. There were some games where Bo Nix won games for us. So I don't think there was that. I think Broncos country has gotten pretty familiar with the idea that like Bo Nix is crucial to the success of this Broncos team, but he's not everything. So I think he can have a regression week and it's not the end of the world, because we know we have such an amazing defense. The ground game is getting a little bit better. Obviously, we need Bo Nix. I'm not saying that he's not important. He's wildly important, but I think we started off the season with an understanding that with a rookie quarterback comes some rookie mistakes. Whereas like Jaden Daniels, he just like from the beginning. And now we're seeing some of that regression where I think then fans are like, well, what the hell? Did you just bamboozle us for 5 weeks of play, 6 weeks of play? Like now you're not perfect.
He just had a really good one yesterday.
Yeah.
See, and so then you get back on track. But I think with Bo, very early, we saw the ebbs and the flows. So we're kind of prepared for like, That could happen. And we're not expecting him to be perfect. So I think the way in which he started the season, he very gradually has gotten better every week. Whereas like Jaden Daniels, it was just like, boom, I'm here. This is what you get. And there's really nowhere to go from there besides down, because he just went hot out the gates.
They dropped those 3 in a row, but then they play certainly a struggling Titans team. He goes 25 of 30 yesterday, just 206 yards. Didn't need to pass that much because they ran for 267 on the ground.
Yeah.
But 3 touchdowns. He also had a pick. And then on the ground, he added 34 of those 267, including a 12-yard run. And he had, I think, a 3-yard touchdown. So he accounted for 4 touchdowns yesterday. What's interesting about Bo, and I saw somebody point out, like, the run game is helping Bo out. Well, Bo is a big part of the run game.
Oh, yeah.
Like 25, he has 25 runs for first downs or something like that. He has 4 touchdowns, which leads the team. And I get with a stable of 3.5 backs when you throw Marvin Mims in there as a running back now, and even they'll hand it to Michael Burton some. You're not gonna have a 10 or 12 touchdown back like a Saquon Barkley or Derrick Henry at this point, because they're constantly rotating these dudes. But Bo Nix is helping himself in the ground game, or is contributing to that. I think he can have a step back. I just don't know if he will, because this Browns team, despite having Myles Garrett, hasn't been great on defense. They're 24th in yards per play. They're the 24th rushing game. They're a little bit rushing team. They're a little bit better pass defense, but that's because teams don't have to pass as much because they're running the ball well. They're middle of the pack there, giving up 214 yards a game. That's 15th. And then they do get after the quarterback, though. They're top 10. They're number 9 in sacks with 32, and we know Myles Garrett has 10 of those.
And, the way I look at it with the Bo Nix thing is they have not turned the ball over in 15 quarters, right? Jameis Winston, you just mentioned 40 picks a couple years back. This is an opportunity for Bo Nix to, as a rookie, show how efficient he is, how well he protects the football, how mistake-free he can play a game and allow the mistakes to be made on the other side.
30. I want to give
50 picks in a season.
5,100 yards that year, completing 60% of his passes, 33 touchdowns, 30 picks his final year with the Bucs.
Okay, so he threw 30 interceptions, and Bo Nix has not thrown one in, I don't know, quite a few games, right?
Like.
And so I think this is Bo Nix's opportunity to show that he can protect the football and he can operate an efficient offense. And it doesn't have to be great every single possession, every single play, but you don't shoot yourself in the foot and you don't just toss it up there for someone to go pick it off. The Broncos, I think they're going to get a couple interceptions tonight of Jameis Winston. I think they're going to attack him. Put him on his back. Zach Allen going to be back. These guys are going to be hungry, and we're all going to be there.
We will.
All 3 of us going to be there, which means our typical post-game show is going to look a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's going to be in the studio. I think we're going to cut something from the field there, do a kind of a longer thing, but we're going to bring you guys some of our thoughts. But before we get out of here, I want your predictions. What's going to happen tonight? We'll start with you, Brandon.
I think the Broncos win, and I think it's a really good chance for them to show the league. I get that the Browns are a good 3-8 team, right? Like they might be the best 3-win team in the league, just like the Chiefs are the worst 11-1 team of all time, or whatever people are saying. But you're going to get a couple of Monday or a couple of primetime games here in the next few weeks, and who knows if they get flexed one more. Nate and I talked about that last week, and there's a potential there. But captive audience after a long holiday weekend, Bo Nix can make the conversation about Rookie of the Year even more, more controversial, if you will, because we know Jaden played well yesterday. But if Bo goes out and has 2 or 3 touchdowns in the air, 1 on the ground, is efficient, doesn't turn the ball over, throws for not 200 yards, but closer to 300 yards, knowing Myles Garrett is beaten down on him all day, that can say a lot, because Commanders aren't winning that division either. The Eagles are.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, he's changed the culture there, but the Broncos have a winning tradition, and it wasn't as bad as it's been in Washington. But Bo is also helping with Sean Payton change who the Broncos are in modern times in this current version. So I like him to win like 30-20, cover and win.
Love it.
And I guess probably hit the over. I didn't double check that. What's that over-under number?
41.5.
Oh, so they're going to go way over.
Yeah.
If it's 30-20, 27-17.
Brandon Krisztal has the Broncos winning 30-20 over the Browns. Liv, what do you say?
I don't think it'll be that high scoring.
But I do think that the Broncos win this game. I'm going to say, let's go 20-17.
All right. The Browns are giving up 24.5 points a game, and they're scoring 17. That gets you to 40. So if they hit their averages, then it will go under. If the Browns do, the Broncos are scoring 22 a game, but only giving up 16 as well. So that's,
I think Bo Nix will get sacked a couple
38.
times in this game.
You
Big
do?
sacks. Yep.
Yeah, big ones.
Will our guy
Yeah.
Shelby Harris have one of them?
He just might.
Will he bat a ball down too?
That's almost guaranteed.
Actually,
Yeah,
Bo
probably.
Nix is getting a lot of balls batted down. A lot of batted balls
Oof.
happening here. So much so that it's kind of becoming a thing with Bo
Yeah.
because he's kind of his arm angle and trajectory and stuff like that. So a guy who gets a lot of balls batted down meets a guy who bats a lot of balls down. Shelby, can you bet that? Can you
have to
bet?
find somewhere
You
that
can
they'll
bet
give you that
defensive
There's
props, but I don't know
random-
if. Let's see.
Yeah, I don't know if
All right, I have the Broncos
What's-
winning 27-15. I think they're going to handle the Browns here. I think they're just going to overwhelm them with the energy, the crowd. They're going to go up early, turn Jameis Winston into sort of a desperate quarterback, and he's going to make some mistakes. I think the Broncos are going to be able to.
and you're
win
going to see PS2 on Judy a lot.
Yeah.
Taking these college teammates
That'll be
back.
awesome.
Who's more likely to have 100 yards receiving? Patrick Surtain, Jerry Jeudy, or Cortland Sutton?
Sutton.
Cortland Sutton.
Easy.
What
And
about
you can
Devon
actually-
Vele? Because I think Devon Vele is going to have a nice game tonight. I really do.
His line is set at 38.5.
Over
Take the over.
on Devon, yeah.
You can also bet, I'm looking at it right now on the FanDuel Sportsbook. You can bet a Monday Night Football quick bet special, Nick Chubb or Cortland Sutton to score the first touchdown of the game.
Ooh,
I
wow.
don't hate that at all, actually.
Yeah. And
So-
what are the odds on that?
The odds are, let me see. I can tell you right now. Plus 310.
Huh. Yeah.
I don't hate it.
Are you gonna take it?
I might
You
sprinkle.
gonna bang it?
I might sprinkle.
I almost won
Sprinkle.
$55,000 on a $5 bet because I needed the Cowboys defense to score, and they did. But then I needed a lot of other things to happen.
14 under other things.
No,
to
like 3
happen.
other things to happen, and 2 of them happened,
Oh wow.
or 4 other things.
One of
and
17.
Well,
3 of it.
Almost congratulations.
That would have been cool.
And now you're down $5.
Yep.
All right, guys, that'll do it for us on Off Field. My name is Nate Jackson. I'm Nate. This is Liv. That's Brandon. We'll see you guys tonight at the game. Go Broncos! Check you later.
Woo.
Bye.